5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I think we're recording. So, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this thing? Well, there are many partial answers to this. So, one partial answer could be because I can. And it may not be such a flippant answer if you really think about it. The reason I can do this is because of so many things had to happen. First, there was the computer revolution, the personal computer revolution, the exponential computer revolution, which enabled people like me to get access to equipment that's used to record this video. That's one. And that's not an easy thing to have happened. It need not happen, but for some reason it did. Second, there's a platform where I could then upload this video that it can be seen by other people, it can be watched by other people. That's quite new as well, because in the past it's only big TV stations who have the capacity to broadcast or to distribute video. But now every human and their dog can almost do it. Almost every human and their dog could do it. And so if it's given to us, if the power, not the power, but a capability to do so has been made available, I thought, why not experiment with it and blur the lines between who's a professional or who's allowed to do it and who could do it. And it's just an experiment. And this is what I'm doing is very basic, but I'm hoping by doing this I could get more skills. I could use some other stuff, some animation maybe, I just need to try it. So I'm doing this because I can, because I've been lucky enough to live in a time that it's possible to do this. And second is, as you could see, I'm not reading from some piece of paper. This is not rehearsed. This is just coming straight out of my brain. And so in a way I'm doing this, I'm thinking out loud as I'm doing this. And then some people give me feedback and then I improve on it. And it's weird, like sometimes I feel like, if you're of the Christian faith, St. John or John the Baptist and all these prophets screaming their heads off in the desert with no one listening. Sometimes when you do these things you feel like, I'm just like one of those crazy prophets just speaking to no one in the big desert. But then once in a while I get some messages like, I saw your video and I really agree with it and made me think, and I thought that's nice. And I guess that's the thing, is that I'm doing this because I'm learning to think on my feet, or in this case, in my case, I'm cross-legged. I'm learning to think while being cross-legged. I'm learning to think in my asana, if you kind of think about it like that. So I'm sharpening my tools in thinking on the spot. That's another partial answer. Another partial answer is I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and like Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, Econ Talk, Philosophize This, Mindscape, After On, Collective Insights, really a lot of podcasts. And the great thing with podcasts is I can do it while doing other things. Like today, earlier on, I was listening to a podcast while I was cleaning the bathroom. So it allows me to do two things at the same time. And in the interaction design subject, I've done a year ago. We kind of looked at the research. Like there's research. Some people are saying that research shows that we don't really do two things at the same time. We don't really multitask. It's a fallacy. You actually do one thing at a time. But there's more nuance in that. We're multitasking all the time, but it's multimodal. We're using different senses. So I could be doing this, and then if the kitchen is on fire, I could smell it, and I could not be paying attention to the kitchen. I'll be fully attentive on this. But if a sense of smell something, then I'm aware of it. So in the same way that if I'm cleaning the bathroom, I'm using my sense of sight, my touch, but my sense of hearing could be doing other things. It's only when you're glued onto the screen and you try to multitask, it's the same channel, so to speak. It's the same visual channel, and you're moving left and right between two screens. Then it's really, you're not really multitasking because you're using the same bandwidth. But like when talking person to person, it's always multitasking. Like when I'm talking to someone, I'm paying attention to what they say, and I'm decoding, like the sound waves that hit my ears, and then inside my head those sound waves get converted to electrical signals, and then there's symbols, the language used, and then different levels of meaning. So I could decode, is she being literal, is she making a joke, is she, and then if it's a technical topic we're talking about, then I have to unpack all that, and do I know what she's talking about, and which paradigm does this fit in. That's happening, but at the same time also paying attention to her body language, and kind of using empathy to feel, is she being nervous while she's talking to me, while I'm decoding that information? Does she feel confident in what she's saying, or so all many levels. So we're wired to do that, and it's only that maybe some of the experiments which we're trying to prove if multitasking works was done in a narrow manner. They were just looking at people manipulating things on the screen, and that's not real life. We're multimodal in real life, or not real life, maybe we should call it outside the screen life, non-digital ecosystem life. Yeah, it's becoming nuanced now. Like I remember my meditation teacher in the past wrote this novel called Bleeding Sun, and he talked about there's real reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, we're coming to that age now that what is reality? There are many flavors of reality, and we need to start distinguishing one from the other. So back to that. So podcasts. So I'm doing this because in a way I've listened to all these podcasts. I've taken all this information and insights from other people, and now I'm trying to make it my own, and trying to relay it to you, or it will get transformed because I'm not coding in verbatim. I don't have like a paper saying, oh, so and so said this. It's just going to come out or post digested in this head of mine, or in this body of consciousness of mine. But it's the only way for me to gauge if I really engage with the content that I've just taken in. And the way to do that is, alright, I'll take those as an input, then what output do I get? So in the biblical terms again, you shall know them by the fruits that they bear. So I'm trying to create fruits from all these things I've learned. And it's also like a virtuous system, a virtuous cycle where I listen to them, and then I make it my own, and then I create a product of my own based on that. And some people might listen to this, and then they'll also take it in. So it's like the web of knowledge, of the web of discovery becomes larger. So in a way, we're all engaged in this big unknown there, and we're all sort of crawling ourselves out of it, or not out of it, into the unknown. each one of us. So each one of us have our own take on reality, but that take on reality is not totally unique, because a lot of there's a lot of invisible architecture that enables us to do this. Like, I'm talking to you in English, so I had to learn English. English was not my first language, so I have to learn that. And I have my upbringing, I have my biases, and yeah, talking about biases, it seems like it's become a negative term for some people, but really, show me a person who have no bias, and I will show you no one. Because there's an infinite number of things out there. We can't take it all in. Even being human, you're already biased. We are already biased being human. Like, we can only see a certain part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So, for example, I can't see infrared. Some animals can. Some animals can see ultraviolet. Some can feel magnetism, and we don't have that. But ultraviolet, infrared, it's part of reality, which we don't see. So to say that this is unbiased reality is wrong, because it's already biased by the fact that I'm in this ape form, you know? So even from the get-go, there's already bias, and then layer on that additional bias that I'm in a typical male body. I've been conditioned, raised as a heterosexual male, and I'm a heterosexual male. I have my preferences. I'm born in a certain time. I've been educated in certain institutions. So we all have bias. I guess we just can't agree on that. And I guess the way to move forward is to do things, always unpack things, and a dialogue. And yeah, earlier today, for my photography class, I met up with two people. I'm taking like a typology of photographic portraits. So the idea is I meet them in the rooftop of the MCA, have coffee with them, and then I take their photos at the same spot, and I try to make the lighting, the framing, and I try to capture the same look on their faces each time in these photos. Today we had an interesting two people I photographed, and we had a nice chat about we're all from different ethnicities who came to Australia, and we just compared notes and our experience, and in a way we're unpacking what it means we unpacked what it means to be Australian in the 21st century, because we're all from different countries. I'm from the Philippines, but I'm a Vietnamese. The other guy is from Singaporean Chinese, and the other guy is he's from Iran in descent, and he's Shia Muslim, and all these things, and we were all coming from our own biases, but because we agreed to engage with each other, we learned from each other, and it was a very pleasant interaction overall. And this happens outside of the usual posturing you see on social media, low bandwidth posturing you see with comments and links and stuff. I engage in that too, but it's really low bandwidth. Like, you could write a paragraph, but it doesn't have the richness of being in front of someone, and then there's this back and forth, and then there's this exchange of microbiome microRNA between us, and even because I've done it a few times now in the same place, and even the guy at the cafe, at the bar, so you were here yesterday, you took photos, were they artists, were they famous people or whatever, and I said, I really like what you're doing, and I'm a photographer too. So even they got involved, and there's something about creating links in some Silicon Valley, people call it meat space, versus cyberspace or virtual spaces. So that's another reason. It's doing this So that and one of the guys I met today, we met through Facebook really. So maybe if someone's listening to this, and maybe one of you, I'll meet and have coffee, and I'll take a photo, and I get to know more about you. You get to know more about me. So it's really experimenting with the new media, seeing how far we could take it, and also I'm trying to engage with longer form content, because I've been posting some Instagram videos, but they're just short, and I do it when I'm walking on the street. But here I'm sitting down, I'm in the comfort of my own room, and so I can go as long as I want. There's also something about long form content, because before the age of cable TV or subscription TV, because we don't have cables now, because it's usually streaming TV now, so subscription TV. I think most experts thought that the viewers, they can only handle 1 hour of TV shows, and they can't handle really complicated plots. So each episode must have a formula. It must be the same formula with, let's say it's a crime investigation thing. You start it from the first. There's the scene of the crime. Things happen at the end. You solve the crime, and you just repeat the same thing each episode. Because to do otherwise would be too complicated, and people won't get it and just forget about it. But now we have really good television. Like one of the first really good ones I've seen is like The Wire, way back. Really complex characters that over time, complex characters individually, but there's also the context of Baltimore and the racial tensions, and then the political tensions between the police and the gangs, and the quirkiness of like Stringer Bell, the people running it. The stereotype is they're dumb people, but they're actually really smart people. The ones running the show, they're not, like, they have simple things like even the best, or not the best, but even some business people don't follow, like, you buy for one, you sell for two. That's how you run a business, But now we have businesses that never turn a profit, and you kind of wonder how sustainable is that. But they got it right. So there's The Wire, and then one of my favorite is Battlestar Galactica, the remake. It's like, whoa. Like, now we're talking about artificial intelligence, but they looked at it way back then in terms of the silence and how that. Yeah, I mean, it's space, but really it's not about space. It's about what it means to be human in changing contexts. And then of course there's Breaking Bad, and what else, and even True Blood. Although it became quite, it sort of fizzled out at the end, that one. Deadwood was pretty good. It's a different context. I started with Walking Dead as well, but I never didn't finish it. Game of Thrones, we'll talk about that another time, because that's a whole topic in itself. So the point I'm making is we can't handle long form content, right? Before Joe Rogan and these kind of people, I never thought I could listen to a 3-hour podcast. Who the fuck listens to a 3-hour podcast? Well, I do now. And once I got into it, I'm kind of bored easily now by sound bites, because I could, like, a 30-second sound bite just doesn't have the depth of a 3-hour long conversation, where and with Joe Rogan's podcasts, it's not really planned, and you could see they didn't talk about this beforehand. It's organically playing out as they're talking to each other. So something about that. In a way, I'm talking to you, imaginary person, but it's also unplanned. So even what I'm gonna say next is, I don't know, it's just coming out of this configuration of cells. So that's another partial answer to the reason why I'm doing this. And lastly, I just want to talk about how with every new technology there seems to be this moral panic. Like I've read and heard about people saying that when writing got invented, all the people at the forefront of the oral tradition was like, oh no, now we're fucked because of writing. People will lose their memory. True, it happened. There are very few people, I think, that could still recite word for word Homer's epics, epic poems. So we're no longer, very few people no longer are transmitting huge chunks of knowledge orally coming from their head, because we've invented writing, so a lot of it is now written in books and that. At first writing was, of course, handwriting and in different forms like papyrus, vellum and all that. And then when the printing press got invented, people said, oh no, we're fucked. Now anyone can read the Bible and interpret it, not just the priests. That's dangerous. And of course, it's not really I don't think the Bible, it could be the first things to be printed, but I'm sure it's closely followed by pornography, So it's always pornography is like at the forefront of any new technologies. Oh, people can never read smart. And of course, there was also when the novel was invented, the romance novel was invented, that format of storytelling. The experts were saying back then, oh no, it's bad for our young ladies. Instead of meeting eligible men in balls and in parties, they're just gonna stay home and read romance novels and stay in this bubble of romance stories. And the telephone happened. When the telephone was invented, it was like, oh no, we can talk to strangers. What will happen to our youth? They'll be corrupted by strange people on the phone. Or maybe even the telegraph before that, or post office. You see what I'm getting at? Now it's about social media. It's a new form, and then people are panicking. Oh, all these people taking selfies. All these people like me doing this long videos. They're so self-obsessed, self-possessed. But what they don't see is people like me doing this, and lots of people have done it before me. We're experimenting with this, the new medium. We don't know where this thing's gonna go. Because one way of looking at this is, it's what I'm doing now and what other people are doing with video and also audio is digital video, digital audio. It's like a intermingling of oral tradition, because this is oral. This is not in writing. But unlike the past, where the oral tradition is a one-off thing, like I'll sit in a campfire, I'll say something, and the people listening, that's it, and then they'll just, whatever they remember, they'll just pass it on. But now, after this thing is being saved, it's gonna live somewhere in the cloud, and exactly what I said will be there, and people can look back at it. And that's another thing, like all these takedowns happening, people searching through everything you've put up on the internet to destroy you. It's like, but I guess it's part of the shadow of what we're doing as collectively. It's the shadowy part of it's a bit interesting. On one hand, there's a bit of permanence, in the sense that if I say something bad now and I become famous, and some kind of copy of this will be found by a blog there, and then it's, oh, look at Oliver James. He said this. He's he's such a hashtag whatever bad thing, bad bad term you could level on me to destroy me. And so it's like almost a permanent memory in the cloud that can be used to haunt you in the future. But that's maybe in a medium to long term time frame. But digital media is also fragile, that unlike the Rosetta Stone, which is still sitting there in the British Museum, all this cloud infrastructure, let's say we got hit by an EMF, electromagnetic, EMP, electromagnetic pulse from a solar flare, let's say a really strong one, and it just wiped out all the drives in the computers on Earth, then we've lost all the record. All the digital records are gone. Whereas if it was etched in stone, some archaeologists thousands of years from now could still find it. But if all our digital or magnetic or solid state device records are wiped out, then what archaeologists would just recover is, what are these things? What's inside them? Or if they don't, let's say in the future, their computer systems are so different from us, they're gonna find all these hard drives in the servers, and they're not gonna know what to do with it. So I don't know. So it's interesting. It's both the digital memory in the cloud and the internet is both persistent in the sense that they're easily to be found and used against you personally, but on a collective level, how the hell do we archive this and that will last a long time? So this we could go to that in another time with the long nap, because I've also been part of the not part. Yeah, I did become a member to support them, and which reminds me, I should catch up on my Long Now podcasts. So this is Long Now Foundation. So I guess I'll cut it for now. I don't know how long I've been speaking now, but those are the partial answers of why I'm doing this. And as you will see, most of the things I'll do there'll be a lot of partial answers. So everything I do is getting there. And I hope, you should tell me if I said this is the thing. No, it's always an infinite game of knowing more and more and more and more. If you've been listening after this, thank you, and hope to see you in the next one, and good night.